the sunscreen's in the bathroom. Let's go.
Okay, Mum.
I want to start relaxing.
G'day, you cheeky dogs. The UK has finally gotten the Bluey episode Relax on Cbeebies this week. So here is my compilation video of all of the hidden Easter eggs, behind the scene details, and censorship from this episode that I have, of course, compiled into one video. Starting off with my favorite Easter egg in this entire episode.
I want to start relaxing.
Yeah! One of the really cool Studio Ghibli, deep cut references here. It's all the way back at the very start in that under garage scene. If you look in the background, you see a yellow beetle. And even I was like, that yellow beetle looks kind of familiar. And yeah, it is, because it's from Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro, a Studio Ghibli movie where they have this iconic yellow beetle in it. And yes, I did get this confirmed by one of the amazing and lovely background animators at Ludo Studios, who was very pleased that I'd managed to notice a couple of the other Studio Ghibli references. And then, yeah, picked this one out. But not just the fact that it's the yellow beetle. If you zoom in, you can see that there is a green dollar bill on it as well. Again, in reference to the Lupin III movie, where they're running away in that yellow beetle with dollar bills flying out everywhere.
All right, Dingleberries, let the holiday begin.
Part 2, of course, we do have to talk about the censorship of this episode that was changed not only on Disney Plus around the world, but also in the UK on Cbeebies. So here is the Australian version.
All right, Dingleberries, let the holiday begin.
And here is the American version.
All right, Super Troopers, let the holiday begin.
Now, I have already talked about this in my censorship video for Bluey Season 3C, so if you haven't checked that out, again, I'll leave a link up here at the top for you to go see it. But this was the only actual major change vocally that we found in Season 3C. So yes, of course, Dingleberries does mean in Australia someone who's silly or being, as they would say, an idiot or loser. But of course, Dingleberries does have a different meaning as well, and it quite literally just means poop.
Aw, I want bummer of chocolate.
A specific type of poop. But of course, it is switched to Super Troopers instead in the Disney Plus version. So if you're in another country, I'm also curious, does it say Super Troopers for you or does it say something else? Super Troopers, of course, is a famous comedic movie, but we're still not sure exactly why they decided to choose that. Maybe just because the people in that movie are also very silly and idiotic. But I can understand why Disney wanted to change it to Super Troopers rather than Dingleberries, rather than showing kids around the world that Bandit is calling his kids little poops. For part 3, here is all of the behind the scenes facts that were confirmed by the official Behind Bluey podcast that the creators did.
And the very first one is that, yes, it is confirmed the location is the Sunshine Coast, or as we say in Queensland, the Sunny Coast. There is no specific location that they said, but they did say that, yes, it was the Sunshine Coast, and they really wanted to show that again through showing the barge and the trees. Of course, the blue wheelie bin, I feel like is probably just an error, obviously, with the animation and the choice of bin colours, because it's only New South Wales. The second information was about the story, which, of course, a lot of the stories are from Joe Brumm, the creator's own experience with his family, and this one is no different. He really wanted to do a story like this because he's gone up to the Sunny Coast a lot for his own holidays, and apparently he had this idea since season 1, and he had it on a piece of paper just saying, "Kids discover unit," and he's been wanting to make this episode ever since. He really wanted to make sure that Chili was sort of the main character in this episode and really portray that the kids have such a positive experience when going to a new hotel or unit, whereas the parents tend to have a more negative experience about, oh, what's missing? Oh, we got to do this. So I think that they absolutely nailed it with this episode Relax, really showing the beauty that you have as a child and looking through a child's eyes at something new versus as a parent who might be overstressed and overstimulated. Now, the third interesting thing is that it is sort of linked to Stickbird, but not really. Which I know for a lot of us is kind of confusing because we can sort of see how this episode would link to Stickbird. That's the next episode on the beach and then into Show and Tell. But according to Joe Brumm, officially, it doesn't link.
Mom, beach!
Beach!
The fourth really interesting thing though, of course, is the fancy lady walk, and apparently this was choreographed in real life by the animator Eric Lin, and then he of course then had to animate it in. I find it really interesting that they actually do a lot of the choreographing scenes, including Chili's dance moves. They're done by real people in real life, and then they are then animated based off those exact dance moves. So I thought that was something really interesting that maybe you cheeky dogs would like to know. The fifth really cool thing they talked about, of course, was the music with Joff Bush. Again, they did bring in the idea of simple gifts. They wanted to use it, and we heard it especially in the end scene. However, I didn't pick up on this. Apparently, you can also hear it playing whenever the girls are having like a lot of fun and discovering something new. You can hear it playing in the background.
Oh, swingy bar. Buttons. Which one's our room? Oh, tiles. Bunk beds. Bunk beds.
So it's definitely worth a rewatch of the episode Relax, thinking about that song in your mind, and then seeing when it pops up for when the girls are playing.
Oh, look, a present. What?
And the sixth thing I want to talk about is the decorations and the styling of the holiday unit. Now, Joe Brum apparently was very adamant that he wanted this to be mid-tier. He didn't want it to look super fancy or anything like that. He wanted it specifically to look like a mid-tier hotel unit, which again kind of plays into the whole wealth class, I guess, of the healers, and that they are meant to be just middle class. They're not super wealthy, but they're not poor either. They both have jobs, but they're very middle class. So it was really interesting that like that's the vibe that they absolutely wanted. And anytime apparently the animators did maybe a little bit too much, Joe would be like, no, take it back. Like make it more outdated, more outstyled. And the animators did this by the paintings in the units. And I noticed this too, because I thought, oh, the paintings would have been such a cool way to like throw in some extra Easter eggs. But no, they wanted them to look cheap and old fashioned, like something you could just buy from like a dollar store kind of thing. And I think they definitely came off that way. They did a really good job with that. They also want to add in like stain marks on the wall, which you can sort of see downstairs in the garage, as well as the abandoned shopping trolley was put in there as like a way of showing that, yeah, it's sort of like a middle class again of people who would be using this. They probably brought the shopping trolley from a supermarket, just left there. Like there's no room service in this hotel or anything like that. So I thought that was a really interesting little details they put in.
Oh, they don't even give you dishwashing detergent.
And finally, part 4, this is all of the other hidden details and Easter eggs that maybe you might have missed.
I'm super excited to share with you guys all of the really interesting things that I found in this episode. The Easter eggs, the Aussie references, the callbacks to other episodes, as well as a breakdown of like a lot of the stuff that Chili had that was Easter eggs, the music Easter eggs, and of course the location, which was really, really cool to try and figure out. I do think when I was Googling it, it might have been based off the Beach Towers Hotel. A lot of the side-by-side images kind of match up. Spa matches up, as well as the glass balcony as well overlooking the beach, which was really hard to find. I looked through a bunch of different hotels to try and see if I could pick this out. So I feel like maybe that might be it. Now, the second thing I want to talk about though is the music, and some of you cheeky dogs also spotted this when we were watching on the live stream. The very first one is the very first intro scene where the girls are singing Flying Saucer.
Two little men in a flying saucer. Two little men in a flying saucer.
Now, this was already a short over on the Bluey YouTube channel, which unfortunately isn't available in Australia, and I don't understand why. But we have seen the girls singing this before, and of course that's the exact same song they were singing in the intro scene as they were driving into the hotel here. Now, of course, this is an Easter egg video as well, so we have to talk about the Easter eggs that we found, and there was only one of our traditional ones that we found, and that was the long dog. So if you did spot it, it was in the kitchen when Chili was looking for the dishwashing tablets in the cupboard. The little long dog was there just behind the plates.
The other long dog is in that one Olympia scene when the girls are walking out of the bathtub. If you look up to the wall to the seashell that's above the toilet, it is an actual long dog that's like half seashell, half mermaid. It's such a cute little detail. However, when you look at it in a previous scene, it's just a regular seashell, not the long dog seashell, which is why I'm convinced that I missed it. But of course, I want to rectify that and show you guys what this second long dog was.
Did you enjoy that spa bath, Olympia? Oh, yes, Melinda. I certainly did.
We did also have some other cool little background elements that I want to touch on. So Chili's hat that she's wearing at the beach is the exact same hat that we saw her wearing in the first beach episode. We of course also see Floppy, which is Bingo's favorite toy from Sleepy Time and other episodes. And the green octopus makes a return again. And in case you didn't know, you can also get the green octopus in real life. It comes as like a set pack with Chloe as like an octopus action figure starting pack. The other really funny background thing I thought was in the bathroom where they had a live, laugh, surf poster, which of course is a kind of like a bit of a parody on the live, laugh, love kind of idea, which again is also that idea of like meditation and mindfulness and being in the moment. So I thought that was a really funny little background detail that they added in. Now, the next thing I really want to talk about is Chili and some of the stuff involving around her with the Easter eggs references and just everything really. So the first one of course is the book that Chili is reading, which kind of also gives away like the message of this episode. Wherever you go, that's where you are. Be mindful and meditate on where you are and enjoy that moment and relax in that moment. So let's have a little bit of a look at the book though. So on the back we can see the author, and we've seen this author picture pop up a few times, and it's kind of like a reference to two different things. So the first one of course is the dog looks a lot like Mr. Peabody. It's got the bow tie, it's got the glasses, it's that very classic dog animated look for Mr. Peabody. However, because it is on the book, there's also been a bit of a reference before to Rugrats and Dr. Lipschitz. And the fact that like in Baby Race, Chili was also reading a lot of books that looked like this. And again, it's sort of like that idea of like reading a book from this same author who's going to help you with your life, which happened a lot in the episodes of Rugrats. And of course, Dr. Lipschitz also has like that same kind of look with like the glasses and everything like that. Now, the front of the book cover, however, it looks like an apple, and there wasn't really a lot I could find. The only possible reference could be The Happy Apple, which is the 1959 book about, you know, being happy. So maybe it could be a play on that. However, the one line that Chili actually reads out, "Wherever you go, there you are," that's an actual book about mindfulness and meditation. So I think that's really funny that they've actually pulled the name of the title of the book and said like, that's the title of chapter 1. When yeah, it's a book about mindfulness and meditation, which is something that Chili is attempting to achieve with great difficulty in this episode. Some other kind of funny details with Chili is, of course, she says duck cake when she realizes that she forgets the after sun. And I love that they use the word duck cake because it rhymes with like other swear words, and that's like the Blueyverse version of it. So I think that's super appropriate for a children's show.
Too easy. Oh, duck cake.
Oh, duck cake.
I also love that in the subtitles you see that Chili growls. Like, she doesn't hump, she's not grumpy, but the subtitles literally says growls, which of course is a funny little dog joke. Now, let's talk about the Australian references as well in this, because we did have a few really fun ones. The first was dingleberries, which is an Australian slang word for someone who is foolish or silly. And then we also had references to a pie in the oven, which definitely I feel is a meat pie, because that's our type of pies in Australia. And of course we see Bandit unpacking the esky. Yes, we say esky in Australia. I know in other countries you have a lot of different words for this one little icebox contraption, but I do love that it's got like kind of the yellow paw print on the bottom of it, whereas in Australia it usually either says esky or it has like the little red triangle depending on where you get it from. Now, another thing I want to talk about, of course, is the girls being fancy ladies and their nicknames and those whole scenes, which were just so funny. So we do get 2 new nicknames for the girls. We have Olympia and Melinda. And Melinda, I don't think is really a reference to much. It's probably just a fun name. But Olympia, of course, follows along the previous nicknames of being sort of pulled from Greek mythology. So, you know, we've had Telemachus before and a bunch of other ones. But they've used a lot of Greek mythology for nicknames. And of course, Olympia is no different. It means from Mount Olympus, but it can also mean like heavenly or heaven-like, which I feel like is what the girls are feeling like. They feel like they're in heaven after having that cool bubble bath in the spa. They're enjoying their lives. It's like heaven. So I love that they use that nickname. We also, funnily enough, have another like reference at the very end credits. So only once before have we seen someone go over like the credits, and that's the grouchy granny from Grannymobile. But the girls in this, because they are also too fancy to bother with credits, walk over the top of the credits as well. So I thought that was a really funny little like end scene. I do also have to give a shout out to Bandit in this. One being a spectacular dad as well as just husband, and how he supports Chili and her need to relax in this. Beautiful, super heartwarming, and just what every mother would really love. But there is like a really funny little thing that he does in the elevator. So when he's trying to tell him like, you know, we're on holidays, he does the full like shimmy shake kind of thing, which I thought was just so funny and like a nice little like addition onto it to show that like he's ready to let loose and that it's a vacation. So I thought that was a really cool little detail in case you might have missed it. And then one of the last things I really want to talk about, of course, is the episode callbacks in this. So aside from, of course, Chili's beach hat being from beach, the girls are all dressed up as mermaids again, which again is a really great tie-in and reference to the previous beach episode where they were focused on being a mermaid, or Bluey specifically was focused on being a mermaid the whole time. And of course, Bingo's voice in the bathtub, she's got her husband voice on again, which we've heard before.
No worries, babe. I'm real, babe. Oh, you sing so well, babe.
And that just like made me laugh out loud and I loved it. And of course, again, another kind of like mini Bluey reference here of Bingo doing the ee face where, you know, she's pulled her mouth back, the teeth are like really out there. And I loved the comparison of her doing it and then her mum Chili trying to copy her later on to get that inner joy that you can get from being a child and doing something silly. I thought that was just beautiful. And it was also the one point that my son actually laughed out loud during this episode is when he saw Chili do it. Not so much when he saw Bingo do it. So I thought that was really cool. And it's interesting that like that's the moment that maybe some children will pick up on.
What's going on here? That's easy. You just do this.
Overall, for me, this episode's probably a 4.5 out of 5 long dogs. It was hard. I would have given it a 4 out of 5, but I do really love the parenting message in this one. Again, it's a very kind of Chili-based episode with also showing the girls having a lot of fun. So it's, you know, kind of switching over from the last episode Exercise where we focused more on Bandit. This one we're focusing a bit more on Chili. It's hard to unwind as a parent and as a mother because you are just go, 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 go all the time and you just want everyone else to be happy and you want everyone else to also relax, but then when you get the chance to do it yourself, it's sort of like, I kind of miss everyone. I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, we saw that with Chili, and I thought that was just so beautiful, that the idea that like you need to sometimes take a step back and also learn from your children. They can teach you something too about relaxing and having fun and just being in the moment completely, and that's totally what we saw with Chili. I also love like the teamwork between her and Bandit as well, of like him supporting her in this kind of situation. I loved that so much. And of course the message was very on the nose of like, wherever you go, that's where you are. Like that, you know, take a moment, stop and smell the flowers, relax where you are, learn from your children, just embrace that inner child and that like wonder that you have when you see something new and fun like a hotel room. With that being said, cheeky dogs, I have picked you out a few other videos that maybe you would like to watch, and I will see you all in another video. Mwah! Bye!